Election is going to kill real estate, and let's see if it actually is or if it's going to be another close call. Okay, seriously, I've got so many people telling me that they're going to wait up because they think this election is actually going to mess up their plans of moving. And to be honest, with Trump getting shot, with Biden dropping out, and this,
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been. What can be, unburdened by what has been.
I do not blame them. There's a lot of things going on. I don't even want to touch it. But when these things happen, uncertainty really shakes up the economy. So we really decided to do a little bit of digging to see how it actually affects real estate and your plans to move. Okay, let me take this off. So I've been a realtor for 2 whole election cycles, so I've seen it, and I've sold hundreds of houses during that time here in the Houston market, but we really wanted to see if there was some type of pattern. And what we found was mind-blowing. Before we go into all of that, I've got 2 questions that I want to answer first. First one, what do we do if we actually have to move right now? Because some people still have to move. So let's take a look at the recent Houston numbers to really see what would happen for you if you've got to move right now. So first thing I wanted to get into is that there are 30,000 active listings on the market here in Houston right now, which is 40% more than there were last year. And also there are 53 million listings being viewed, which is 33% more than last year. And lastly, there are right around the same amount of showings as there were last year. So honestly, things are not waiting and stopping just for the election. But let's talk about a very big factor when it comes to moving right now. And I have clients still worried about increased rates. They say things like, if the Democrats win, those damn liberals aren't gonna do anything and they're gonna keep taking our money. So interest rates will stay up, is what they think. Or, if the Republicans win, then they'll keep the rates high to keep their bank friends rich. Which, both of those are really not true. But I hear it a lot. You have been keeping up. Here's where things are moving. So this recent Fed dot plot is actually showing where most of the Federal Reserve members believe rate cuts will happen. And now it's looking like it's probably just going to be 1 rate cut. And that's likely towards the end of the year. But here's the thing that could be a little bit different. Now recently, the unemployment stats came and that was above their kind of red line of 4%. Those are signals that the market may not be doing so well. So when that happens, they may have to pull back and possibly lower rates a little bit sooner. So maybe that happens before the election. And here's the big kicker. Historically, interest rates actually decrease leading up to an election. And right now, they haven't moved much, as you can kind of see that here. So things may stay pretty flat leading into the election and possibly may even have that rate cut happen a little earlier than we anticipate. So if you've got quick little edit note, right now it's August 1st. I recorded this video on the 27th or so. And finishing up the last edits, and it's gonna go live tomorrow. But this actually came out just last night.
A reduction in our policy rate could be on the table as soon as the next meeting in September.
Soon as the next meeting in September. So your boy called it, kind of. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. This guy Jerome is talking sometimes. But yeah, back to it. You've got to move now. The demand is still there if you're a home seller, but as a buyer, I would recommend you to be pretty picky with things. You've got a lot more houses to choose from, so you don't have to go in too aggressively on all these houses without being certain it's the right one for you. And home sellers, let's just be realistic. Those days of getting $50K over your list price they're over. So if you need to sell right now and move, you are honestly one of 15 houses that a buyer is looking at right now. The benefit though is if you stand out, you can be one of the top choices. And anytime that we look at houses with our clients, they're not saying like, oh, these are my top 5, 6, 7 houses. It is overwhelming to look at that many houses and consider it in a list. Most buyers will consider their top 3, maybe 2 choices. So you've got a chance to really stand out if you put it at the right price and you market it really well. And as I was digging, I found something that blew my mind about election year markets. But before I get into that, I had one last question that I did want to answer, and that is, what if we wait until all of this is over, after the election's over? Well, yeah, it's definitely an option that you should look at. And I'm sure you're wondering, which party would benefit me the most when this does happen? And no, don't listen to politicians, man. They'll say whatever. It's 2024. We base this stuff off of stats, not words, all data. I mean, next time someone's gonna tell me that they really believe that someone actually landed on the moon. Okay, I'm just kidding. But really though, did we? There are a few key notes to point out right here. And really, let's just go over how the two recent administrations did when it came to real estate. Of course, you see all the other numbers here, but the biggest thing is that the Trump administration had a 37% increase in real estate, whereas the Biden administration did have an increase in real estate, but it was 16%. So they both did increase, but obviously you can kind of see here overall that the real estate sector did better under a Trump administration. But that doesn't really tell the full story, so I'm going to talk about two major movers when it comes to the actual politics and real estate. And the first one is going to be regulations. Now, we've got a video here of Jim Tobin, who is the CEO of the National Association of Home Builders, talking about those different impacts when it comes to regulations.
We saw a lower regulatory environment under President Trump. We saw a more output from the economy and the housing segment. So I expect more of the same if President Trump is reelected.
Okay, see that? Less regulations just meant more growth in real estate. And that's a lot of what you'd expect with a Republican-led administration. They are very limited regulations, and with those limited regulations, they get to pass those savings on to buyers, in theory, right?
Conversely, President Biden, he has pushed forward a lot of pro-building policies. He's talked about adding more supply, but we're getting this muddled message from this White House because just as recently, a month ago, they're going to add up to $20,000 to $30,000 to the cost of a new home due to new energy regulations.
And you can see that it's the exact opposite when it comes to a Democratic-led administration. You'll see that there's more regulations, and it's more for like energy requirements, and that ends up being a $20,000 to $30,000 increase that's passed along to the buyers themselves. Right? I don't think the builders are going to do it and just eat the cost completely. So that's one of the things to consider. But what are the benefits from a Democratic-led administration? And honestly, it's a pretty big benefit if you think about it. And I'll talk about one article that I was checking out that really highlighted this. Now, the Treasury devoted an extra $100 million over 3 years towards affordable housing. Now, when it comes to a Democratic administration, there are a lot more programs and support specifically for affordable housing and first-time home buyers. So if you fall into that bunch, this could be a good thing for you specifically. Now, we've seen the benefits of something like this in Houston. There's tons of different projects with affordable housing. There's grant programs that we've gotten all of our clients under and in different areas. So honestly, I'm a big fan of programs, but I'm also a big fan of savings overall. So it seems that both have their own strategies in theory that'll work, but sometimes it just kind of adds a little bit more confusion to it, right? Like what is going to benefit me? But ultimately though, we need to find out where that actually leaves us. But ultimately though, we need to find out where that actually leaves us and what the hell we should do in this next year. I figured if I could dig even deeper that there would be a clear winner, and there kind of was. But before I share that winner, I wanted to show you the overall stats across the US for election years. And you can see here, every single year led to increased prices. Well, except for that one year that kind of sucked for everyone, the housing crash in 2008. But yeah, that's definitely saying something. And then we also looked up how many home sales actually happened. And nearly every single year, 9 out of the last 11 elections led to more home sales the year immediately after. So the key takeaway when it comes to the overall stats in election years is that the post-election rebound is huge. The way that you're feeling, the way that I'm feeling about how uncertain things are, this happens every single election year. I promise you, it feels just as crazy and it makes you uncertain about your plans. But yeah, there's almost a guaranteed post-election rebound every single time. But I felt like it still wasn't enough. I did not have a winner in all of this, so I dug even deeper into our own Houston market, and this is where I was trying to get with it. So I wanted to see what type of market differences we had with a Democratic-led administration and a Republican-led administration. Now, we had a Republican in 2016, 2004, and 2000. And we had a Democrat in 2020, 2012, and 2008. So what we have here, I'm going to start with the Democrat years. So 2020, we had a median sales price increase of 15.4%, along with a total property sale increase of 13.3%, okay? And then you can kind of see it here. I'm moving on. I've got a 9.4% increase in median sales and a 18.8% increase in the property sales. Lastly, I've got a 0.7% increase in median sales from 2008 to 2009. And then I have a total property sales drop of minus 8%. So overall, other than that 1 year, it was pretty good numbers. Now let's take a look at the Republican years, which is 2016. You had 3.8% in median sales, and then you had a 3.5% increase in property sales. So 2016-17 is a little bit lower. So we had 2004 to 2005, which was a 5.1% increase in price, and then we had an 8.9% increase in property sales. And then lastly, from 2000 to 2001, we had an 11.6% increase in price, and then we had a 2.6% increase in property sales. Now, if you average the two, this is where it blew my mind. So for the Democrat years, we had an average of 8.5% increase in property sales, and for the Republican years, we had an average of 5.43% in price. So you have a much higher percentage increase in pricing in the Democrat years than the Republican years. That honestly blew my mind. But then also taking a look at the total property sales, maybe it led to more property sales for Republican and vice versa, right? And you can actually see it led to an 8% increase in total property sales on average every single year with a Democrat winning that year. And it actually led to only a 5% increase when a Republican won that year. Really interesting. So the numbers skew both ways to being a better market for a Democrat winning the election in Houston overall, at least from 2000 to now, which I think is a pretty good sample size. And this is what it really blew me away, because I honestly thought a better real estate market would come from a Republican president. But maybe it was, because better is always worse for someone, right? So are more homes being sold and higher prices better for you? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If it isn't, then you are in luck, because we actually toured these new construction houses around the Houston area that are still under 200K as I'm making this video, so check that out right here.